What's going on, guys? Welcome to the episode of the Award Central podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the 2025 Oscars winners. It was quite an interesting show. A lot of it played out kind of like we talked about right here on the podcast just a mere 2 weeks ago. But as always, I'm joined by my partner here, Mr. Benji. How are you, man?
I'm a lot better than I was last week at the Oscars. Thank you very much. And I think we both apologise for such a late output, but the British flu season came and bit my ass at exactly the wrong time. So we're here now, and that's all that matters.
We are here now. It's been definitely a whirlwind of a season. I think that I start to unpack a lot of different things, right? You know what I mean? When we start looking at the season, obviously the whole controversy around Carlos Sofia Gascon really put a nice little damper on certain things, and then of course the fires really altered the race in a way that we weren't expecting, I guess you could say. I don't think, things kind of unfolded the way they unfolded after you started to realize who was winning what was winning who. But yeah, I'm really happy this season's over. What about you?
Yeah, I hate usually this time of year. I'm usually really sad because I love the award season, and I get so depressed that I've got to wait until November and December for it to really start to kick in again. But with everything that went on this year, yeah, I think I'm on the same boat as you. I was kind of glad that it was all over. I feel like it was the only way it was going to put the controversy sort of to bed, that we were going to stop hearing about it. And because this season just went on and on and on, it got to the point I was excited for it to be over and excited just to kind of just start discussing new movies next year. With the ceremony itself, it was fairly predictable with a few surprises. And I think the one that fucked everybody over was the shorts this year were the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll dive into those in a minute. But I do want to say, though, that I really, really enjoyed Conan. I
Mhm.
thought he was a fantastic host. I thought that the jokes, the opening monologue, all of that was really swell. Obviously, the opening of Cynthia and Ariana opening the show with what they did was pretty incredible as well. Such a great performance there to start the show. But yeah, uh, there wasn't a whole lot of too many shocking surprises. You know what I mean? It was less of a shock and surprise. I do want to say this. We talked about this a little bit, but before. But it's funny to see how you know once Honora won Critics' Choice at or once Honora won Best Picture at Critics' Choice, it was kind of like one of those like weird moments because everybody's like, well, how is this winning Critics' Choice? It didn't win anything else, which was kind of a little befuddling in some
Mhm.
aspects, but at the same time, it was like, oh, like this really did kind of set the tone for the next few weeks, didn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, and then the very next day it won DJ and PGA, and we went from being really unknown and to about what the front runner was to it being completely settled in a matter of 48 hours.
Yeah, and to follow that, you know what I mean. The only real category, that we really saw much of a surprise from, is like you said, was the short films. But then again, I mean, obviously, over time, it was like I said from the beginning, I just didn't think that the Academy would award Demi Moore for this performance, and obviously, over time, it started to look like maybe I would have been wrong here based on her winning just about a lot of the big things. And then, of course, the BAFTA thing comes into the equation. We
Yeah.
talked about that. Benji broke that down quite a bit on the show, and they did they did pretty damn good this year comparing up to the Oscars. But the win for Mikey Madsen, how did you feel about it? What do you think about it?
I I felt so smug because I combated a lot of people when they were so on Twitter, when everyone was so strongly felt that Demi Moore was saying, everyone was talking about the career narrative, the fact it was going to win makeup, and the fact that they coincide really well, which is true. And if you were predicting Demi Moore, I don't think it was a dumb choice to make. But I was predicting Mikey Madison because one, Honor was looking likely to win Best Picture. Two, Mikey Madison won the BAFTA when they didn't really honor Honor anywhere else. So why the fuck did they give Mikey Madison Best Actress? Nothing else. The BAFTA are the best precursor for Best Actress. it showed a lot to me. And like you say, for as much as I hated to admit, because The Substance was my favorite movie of last year, and I wanted to see Demi Moore win, it just made more sense. Unfortunately, I just don't think we live in a time yet where the Academy are ready to honour performances like The Substance. To
Because it
actually
wasn't
win.
good.
Well, opinions to one's own, but I mean, I don't think that's a fair. I think that's a fair opinion. And to be fair, I think that probably played a part to do with it. When you read through the anonymous ballots, they're a small sample size, but a lot of it showed not a lot of people were very keen on The Substance, and
Or that
here
third
we are.
act, man. The third act really.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, you know what? I decided to throw a curveball here on what we're gonna do here. Instead of yeah, we're a week away from the Oscars winning, but instead of doing that, we're doing in the very near future. We have a fun bracket style situation coming that we're gonna have other people join the podcast, and we're gonna vote and have one person win the best of that respective category out of the last 24 years. But we're 5 years into this into this 2020 range of winners. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of these bigger categories and we're going to rank our 1 through 5 on these specific categories. I'm putting Benji on the spot here.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to have them on the screen so that we know who's what, when, where, and how. So obviously these are our last 5 best actress winners. And we're not going to break them down too in depth. We'll go through a couple of them, but I want you to give me your top 5 here. We'll rank it 1 through 5 here.
Ooh,
So
okay.
we have Mikey Madsen, Honora, Emma Stone for Poor Things, Michelle Yeoh, Everything Everywhere I Want, Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Frances McDormand for Nomadland.
Okay, so number one, probably go Emma Stone for Poor Things. I'm not even a big fan of the movie, but I love that performance. Number two, go with Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number three, I go with Mikey Madison for Honora. Number four, I go Frances McDormand for Nomadland. And I'm quite surprised to say this because she's one of my absolute favourite actresses working today. But I'd probably say number five is Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Compared to all those other performances, that one just feels most kind of a bit lame, a bit Oscar baity, to be honest.
Number 1 for me, Emma Stone, Poor Things. Number 2, I'm going to go Frances McDormand for Nomadland. 3,
Nice.
I'm going Jessica Chastain. 4, Michelle Yeoh. 5, Mikey Madsen.
Oh, careful. People are still on a high of that movie. They'll cancel you, mate.
That is what it is. All right, moving right along. I couldn't get that lucky to get canceled. That means I wouldn't have to podcast no more. But that being said, I'm kidding y'all. Don't cancel me, please. Not yet, anyway. All right, moving right along. We're going to talk about Best Actor. Obviously, the Best Actor played out exactly what it was anticipated. Obviously, I predicted Timothée Chalamet, and I said on this specific podcast that the only reason I predicted Timothée Chalamet is because every year I predict one category, which I want to, I just wanted to win. And of course, it didn't win. So, and first off, the world's worst speech too. I think he's still on the stage,
Oh,
still on the stage speaking too.
that was one of
Um,
that was I'm going to say right now, and I don't want to get too controversial, but that was the most self-indulgent, self-important speech I've ever seen in my life. He just went on and on and on and thought he was the king of the universe in that speech.
all right, ranking the top 5 performances over the last 5 years. Let me go over them real quick. Adrian Brody, The Brutalist; Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer; Brendan Fraser, The Whale; Will Smith, King Richard; and Anthony Hopkins, The Father. I'll go first this time. It's Anthony Hopkins is number 1. And to me, it's Anthony Hopkins number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 if we're looking at this category. But nonetheless, I'm going to go Anthony Hopkins number 1. I'm going to go Cillian Murphy number 2. I'm going to go Will Smith number 3. And Adrian Brody number 4. And Brendan Fraser in The Whale is one of the worst performances I've ever seen. It should have won a Razzie, but I don't even know why it's on here. But yeah, that's my 1 through 5.
So number one is definitely Anthony Hopkins for The Father. That's one of the greatest performances of all time. Number two, I'm going to go Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. Number three, I'm going to go with Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. Number four, I'm going to go Brendan Fraser for The Whale. And number five, I'm going to go Will Smith for King Richard.
That's just disrespectful.
I'm so sorry, man. I had to do it.
That's disrespectful. I don't know if I can podcast with you anymore. All right, moving
Uh,
right along to the best supporting actor. I proclaimed on this very podcast back in December that you could win money on Kieran Culkin winning for A Real Pain.
mhm.
And I said it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then Kieran Culkin won for A Real Pain. His speeches were hilarious this entire time. I do think, never mind. I was going to go a certain way, but I'm not going to. But that being said, our last five supporting actor winners: Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Robert Downey Jr. Oppenheimer, Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Troy Kotsur for the Lifetime movie Coda, Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. I'll let you go first with this one.
Hmm. Apart from one, I love all of these performances. I think we've had a really good streak of Best Supporting Actor winners. But number one, I'd go with Ke Huy Quan. Number two, I'd go with Daniel Kaluuya. Number three, I'd go with Robert Downey Jr. Number four, go with Kieran Culkin. And then number five is Troy Kotsur. So that movie can get the fuck out of my face.
Number one for me, Daniel Kaluuya. Number two, um, Kieran Culkin. Three, Robert Downey Jr. Four, Ke Huy Quan, and five, Troy Kotsur as well. I am biased against. There's some biasness in my predict whenever I rank them because there's other performers in those categories that 1,000% deserve to win. Ryan Gosling.
Oh, yes.
Supporting actress. We have five performances. Yoo Jung, I don't even know how to say her name. Yoon Jung Yoon for
Yeah, Jung
Minora.
Yin.
Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Jamie Lee Curtis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. This should be fun. I'm going to start. I can't wait till everybody get mad. My number one is Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. Put him down. Number two, Yoo Jung Yoon for Minari. Three, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, and I could care less about the other two, but give me DeBose and then Jamie Lee Curtis five, because Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't even the best supporting performance of her film, best supporting actress performance of her film. Stephanie Hoos should have won that Oscar,
Yep.
uh, or
Don't think
Angela
anyone would disagree
Bassett,
with you on that one.
or
Or
Carrie
Angela Bassett.
Condon,
Or Kerry
or
Condon.
anybody
Or
but
Hong
her.
Chow. Anybody but her, yeah.
But yeah, those are my five. What about you, Benji?
Number one, Yo Jung Yin for Minari. I think that was one of the last times I freaked out when she won the SAG. I was so excited. Number two, go with Divine Joy Randolph. Number three, give us Zoe Saldana. Number four, Ariana DeBose. And then number five, if we even count it, is Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I it's crazy. I thought West Side Story was terrible. The Holdovers was mediocre to me.
Fair.
And then the Everything Everywhere All at Once is a very good movie. I just hate that win. That win just is not that.
Oh no,
Um,
absolutely same. Everything Everywhere All at Once was my favorite movie of that year, and well, my second favorite movie of that year, and I hated that one.
all right, let's see. They don't have the writing categories here, so we're just gonna write to the heavy hitter here. All right, best director Oscar winners over the last 5 years. This is crazy right here. Just even look at this: Chloe Zhao, Nomadland, Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog, Daniel Kwan, and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, and then of course our most recent winner, Sean Baker for Anora. Give me your five, Benji.
Number one, I'm gonna go Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer. Number two, gonna go Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneider. I can never say that name, but the Daniels, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number three, gonna go with Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Number four, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. And then number five, Sean Baker for Anora. That win, I just don't get it.
Yeah. For me, it is number one, Christopher Nolan. I think he's number one by a clear mile over everybody in this category. Number two, give me Chloe Zhao. And then give me the Daniels. Then give me Jane Campion. And then somewhere down there, give me Sean Baker. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to pull this up from a different website. And I'm just going to tell them to you out loud, I think, instead of trying to pull them up. We're going to go the last five original screenplay winners, which were Honora, Sean Baker, Anatomy of a Fall, Justin Triet, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Belfast, and Promising Young Woman. I'll go first. To me, number one for me is that's a hard one. It's a toss up between these two, but give me Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell's script.
Hmm.
Give me that number one. Number two, give me Anatomy of a Fall. Number three, give me Everything Everywhere at Once. Four, Belfast. Five, Honora.
So number one, I'd go with Anatomy of a Fall. Number two, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number three, Promising Young Woman. Number four, Honora, and then number five, Belfast.
You love Belfast so much.
I do not love Belfast so much.
Start spreading that rumor around here. All right.
Please, no, it's not true. It's not true.
Moving on to Best Adapted Screenplay, we actually have Conclave, American Fiction, Women Talking, Coda, and The Father. It's crazy to me. 4 of those 5 movies are incredible. And then there's Coda. Yeah. Let's see. This one's actually a lot harder to rank than I thought. But give me The Father, The Son, the Holy. No, I'm sorry. The Father, American Fiction, Women Talking, Conclave, and then Coda. And that's really hard. Like, I think you could really like those 4. You could really. I wouldn't care if you swapped any of them.
You can move them around whichever way you wanted, and I've literally got the exact same 5. Number one, American Fiction. No, number one, The Father. Number 2, American Fiction. Number 3, Women Talking. Number 4. Oh God, come back to me. Oh, what was it?
Conclave,
and then number 5, the most recent one, and then number 5, Coda.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and then of course we'll move on to Best Picture, the last 5 years. So can we talk before we dive into this into our thing here, right? You know what I mean? Everybody's like, "Oh my God, independent cinema is back! Oh my God, independent cinema is back! I can't believe independent cinema, it's back for good. It's been so long since independent cinema has won an Oscar and all of these other things, and
all of these movies except Oppenheimer are independent films."
So this is where I was confused when you look at this list, and I tweeted it out because the thing about it is just because Everything Everywhere All at Once went on to win or make a lot of it made a pretty decent penny, right?
Yeah, for its budget.
For $25 million, it was made for $25 million, which is a little bit higher. Okay, you know what I mean. But let's see here. Coda budget.
Nomadland definitely
$10 million. Okay, Nomadland budget $5 million. Okay. So so Nomadland had a less of a budget than Honora did. Okay?
And I can imagine, I don't want to say shit and be wrong, but I can imagine a lot of Nomadland's budget went to Frances McDormand.
Right. But it's crazy to me, like it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it makes zero sense to me that we're sitting here talking about, you know, these movies like, oh my God, you know, the independent cinema's back, the performance wins. The Father was made on $6 million. Okay. The Father was made for $6 million. Okay. Won Best Actor 3 short years ago. 5 short years ago. You know what I mean?
4 short years ago.
4 short years ago. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. It was 5, right? No,
4. 2021.
Yeah, whatever it was. But to me, it's like, I cannot
Ricky
believe
can't do maths.
I'm sitting here. I cannot believe that we're here having this Actually, technically, it's 5 Oscars ago, so I'm right.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll give you that one.
Boom. There we go. So technically, it is 5 years ago. I was right. I feel like, oh, there we go. Look at that. See, who can't do math now, Benji?
No. It's 5 Academy years ago, but technically, if we're counting correctly, 2021 was 4 years ago. It was actually the Oscars then was April 25th, so it was actually 3 years ago.
It's 4 years ago, and like 4 years and like 11 months ago, or whatever.
No, it was not. It was not. Google it.
2020 is 1 year.
But
2021
the
is 2
the
years.
Oscars weren't 2020.
2023,
That
2020.
yeah, but
That's the year the movie came out, though.
it doesn't count. The Oscars that year was all right. Whatever you went. I'm not arguing the point of this. This is dumb. I know that
Oh
I'm
man,
right.
mid podcast, we're fighting about math here, baby. Let's go. But to me, it was just crazy. It's like, oh my god, I cannot. I hope we give more movies like this, like American Fiction. I don't even remember what that budget was. I know that was small too. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, but we're making it sound like these movies never. American Fiction was made on $10 million. By the way, um, Ramil Ross said he was looking for like I think it was like two $10 million projects. I'm hoping to hit the lottery this week so that I can fund his next two films. But yeah, I mean, can we like? I just don't understand it. Like, it made no sense. Like, Past Lives was made for $12 million. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand last year was dominated by Oppenheimer and Barbie, but people forget that the Oscars used to be dominated by blockbuster movies as well. Like, films that
The
made money won Oscars.
the majority of Best Picture nominees these days, I'd say about 8 out of 10, tend to be made for less than $25 million.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this year, for instance, The Brutus was made for like 10 million or whatever. Complete
Mm.
Unknown was around, I think it was like 60, 70 million. Conclave, Conclave budget 20 million. Wicked and Dune obviously had a big one. Amelia Perez's budget wasn't that big. And then Nickel Boys, I know for sure. And then I'm Still Here, and that's Substance. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
these movies, but it's just crazy to me that Everything Everywhere All Wants, Coda, and Nomadland are the three previous winners to Oppenheimer, and we're talking about how independent cinema's back. And then even if we talk about let's the best actor winners, okay, The Whale, you know what I mean, dog shit of a movie, but still was made on a minuscule budget. Already told you about The Father's Win, you know what I mean? Like King Richard, I don't remember how much King Richard was made for, but I know the budget wasn't that high.
Exactly. This.
It's 50 million, but still, it's not like still groundbreaking money. But yeah, so I don't understand what this whole conversation was. Is independent cinema's back or whatever it was, but yeah, it pissed me
It
off,
never
Benji.
left. It never left. It's always been here.
Yeah, I mean, look at the last year. You know what I mean? Like even amongst the Oppenheimers and the Barbies, you still had Past Lives, The Zone of Interest, Anatomy of a Fall. The Holdovers was made on a minuscule budget. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly.
I wouldn't
Um,
say it's minuscule, but it wasn't made for like a ton of money either.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. All right. That being said, $13 million. That's a minuscule budget. So yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
holdovers. That's compared to what we're talking about here. $13 million is very much independent, especially in this day and age. But
I think anything under 15 million is counted as independent. So
yeah,
yeah,
especially
it
since
technically is right.
especially for the Spirit Awards. You know what I mean? Independent, quote unquote. But all right, Nomadland, Coda, Everything Everywhere Once, Oppenheimer, and Nora.
So it almost goes like good, bad, good, good, bad. So it really just depends on your preference and your taste. And if you have a bad year one year, you just got to hope the next year's good. If I had to rank it, I'd probably say number one, Everything Everywhere All at Once by far. Number two, Oppenheimer. Number three, Nomadland. Number four, Nora. Number five, Coda.
If you just flip flop Oppenheimer and Everything Everywhere All Once for me, I'm in the same boat. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. We'll stop sharing that now. But yeah, so just, overall thoughts on this year's Oscars as a collective whole, the winners obviously, obviously none of the movies I really wanted to won a whole lot of anything. Does
They
it really
were
ever? Not really. But
no, no. So I mean, same for me. I mean, all in all, they were fairly predictable. The only real surprises we got, the live action short going to "I'm Not a Robot" was the most shocking thing ever because that was the only one of those shorts that wasn't political at all, and it won. Animated feature animated short went completely differently to how I thought it would. Documentary short was very 50-50. I'm so glad I at least predicted one right, and I made a little bit of money off of it, so that was cool. Animated feature was really shocking because Flo only won Golden Globe. Annie's Critics' Choice went with Robot. BAFTA went with uh, Wallace and Gromit. But then I guess looking back on it in hindsight, The Boy and the Heron, which had a similar trajectory to Flow, which won last year, won Golden Globes. And if Wallace and Gromit was the same year as Boy and the Heron, it probably would have won there as well because we BAFTA just had major British bias over some things. So I guess in hindsight, it kind of makes sense how it won, but not a lot of people were predicting it. Mikey Madison in Best Leading Actress, despite the fact that everyone rejected it, we both said it would win, and it won. So, haha. I just like I know I said this earlier on the pod, but that BAFTA win just was enough for me. And I said this all along. I said I don't care if Demi Moore wins everything else. If Mikey Madison wins BAFTA, I'm predicting her for the Oscar because the BAFTAs are the kings and queens, ladies and gents. I'm predicting Best Leading Actress, and then I guess another surprise was Anora winning Best Editing. But that one really just threw me through a loop because the main complaint of that movie is its pacing in the middle, which is down to the editing, but it's still won. But at that point, it just showed that the Academy just loved Anora. The whole season, Best Editing was split. They didn't know what to do, so these voters just kind of went to their favorite movie, which just so happens to be Anora. I would have liked to have seen Conclave or even Amelia Perez, to be honest, win, but never mind. And then by the time it got to director and picture, it was so obvious what was going to happen, and Anora slept.
Yeah, it really did. Sean Baker won 4 Oscars that night. Because he obviously edited the film, wrote the screenplay, nominated for director, and then of course followed by Best Picture as well. Independent cinema's back. That being said, it's been a fun season. We've got some fun stuff planned for you guys very, 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 very soon. And
Very
then on the
excited.
flip side, you know what I mean? We've already got predictions for the 98th Oscars out in the world. Go check those out. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about them. Maybe we'll break down everybody's predictions on the upcoming Oscars. 98th Oscars, talk about some of the big films that maybe need to be on your radar. There is quite a few heavy hitters coming out this year. There's quite a few movies with some, we got the return of Paul Thomas Anderson. We got the return of Daniel Day-Lewis, which is
so excited. I don't want to put it out there and then jinx myself, but I really feel like we could be in for a good year of cinema. Considering last year was fairly it wasn't. I don't think it was a bad year, but it wasn't anything outstanding. I really hope that we're now geared for a great year because I feel like we're all craving that and we all need it.
Yeah, I agree with 100%. And so that is it for this episode of the Award Central podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And like I said, we will be back very soon with a little fun project on the side as we await to start diving into the world of Oscars next year. Thanks for tuning in.
Amazing. Thank you very much.